The official count of confirmed coronavirus cases in India has now exceeded 6 million, with almost 100,000 deaths. India has the second highest number of cases worldwide after the United States. Authorities began lifting restrictions in June despite a big increase in case numbers. Over 60% of the active cases are concentrated in 5 of India's 28 states. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called on people to keep wearing face coverings when they go outside their homes. Well, DW's Nimisha Jaiswal has been covering the story and joins us now from Delhi. Nimisha, what's behind this dramatic rise in cases in India?
Well, Terry, we're looking at a country with a massive population as well as a very high population density, and a country that is continuing to lift restrictions over the last few months, which means more and more people are meeting in close quarters. This makes it ideal breeding grounds for a disease as infectious as the coronavirus. Now, of course, the Indian government as well as the people think they can ill afford to continue any kind of a lockdown, especially the very strict kind we saw earlier in the year, because of the economic fallout and impact of this lockdown and of the pandemic as well. Now, while the mortality rate in India remains low, which is encouraging, the country is losing close to 1,000 people on a daily basis. So while this uptick is expected, it is also very concerning.
How are people coping with the financial hardships brought on by the pandemic?
Well, Tari, the people are struggling to cope with these financial hardships, and the evidence of these hardships is increasing on a day-to-day basis. Now, of course, right at the beginning of the lockdown period earlier this year, we saw dramatic visuals and images of migrants walking home on foot, hundreds of kilometers on cycles, on foot, trying to get home. And now things, in a way, are resuming to become more normal as workers return to the cities and continue working. More and more things are opening up. But the numbers speak otherwise. India has seen one of its worst quarterly GDP contractions over the last few months. Millions of jobs have been lost in the formal sector as well. And while the government has offered aid to farmers, to laborers, to female workers, the formal sector is complaining that not as much aid is coming their way. Many people within the formal sector who have lost jobs are now returning to their hometowns or are choosing to work from home. So this is definitely something that will involve a long-term struggle and also explains why India is not reimposing restrictions.
Nimisha, what do people there make of the government's handling of this pandemic?
Well, Terry, while the opposition has been emphatic in its criticism of the government, of its handling of migrants, of the pandemic, the people themselves have not responded as negatively, definitely, and the Prime Minister's immense popularity may have a key role to play in this. People do understand that what the government is saying may well be true, that the country must learn to live with the coronavirus. And the reason the lockdown and the lifting of restrictions have both worked so well is because many people do trust in this government. However, as I mentioned, there's definitely an economic fallout. There is a slow burn amongst those who are suffering the most. And the true test of what exactly is the people's reaction may arrive when several local elections are held later this year. And will the support translate to votes is the key question here.
Nimisha, thank you very much. DW's Nimisha Jaiswal there on the spiking infection rate in Delhi. And here's some of the latest coronavirus developments around the world. There are fresh doubts over the true number of virus deaths in Mexico. The top coronavirus official has said calculating the final statistics will take a couple of years. Officials have already admitted that the death toll of more than 76,000 is an undercount. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has said travel between her country and some Australian states may be possible by Christmas. Plans for a travel bubble have been under discussion for months. And South Korea has reported just 50 new cases of COVID-19, its lowest daily increase in 7 weeks. The drop is probably due to stricter social distancing measures introduced to stop the spread of the virus. Within the coming hours, the global death toll from COVID-19 is expected to officially exceed 1 million. Many parts of the world are seeing a resurgence of infections, such as Brazil's largest city in the Amazon. Researchers throughout Manaus could be one of the world's first places to reach herd immunity, but the numbers say otherwise.
In May, the coronavirus ripped through the Amazon region's biggest city, leaving a backlog of bodies in its wake. In Manaus, cemetery workers could not dig graves fast enough. But then the first wave of the coronavirus subsided, and in June, death rates dropped unexpectedly. A sense of normality returned to the city. Brazilian medical researchers speculated that so many people within the community had caught the virus, there were few left to become infected. They thought Manaus had reached so-called herd immunity. But this month, COVID-19 has been making a comeback. Authorities shut beaches and closed bars. And the mayor is angry that the Brazilian government is not sending a clear message. The government must take this seriously and tell the truth, to say what is happening and what is not, for two reasons. If it says there is no problem, then we won't get any help. Secondly, if they say there is no problem, then that encourages people to ignore our decrees. Right-wing President Jair Bolsonaro has played down the danger of the virus, frequently appearing in public without a mask, and he's encouraging people to go back to work and return to normal life. Back in Manaus, police break up a party. A 30-day ban on parties came into effect last week, along with a reduction in shopping hours. Regional governments in Brazil hope that with targeted closures and nightlife restrictions, graveyards like these will still have plenty of space for a little longer.